Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm John.
Today we're going to talk about Terrifier, and we have a very special guest here with us on this episode, David Howard Thornton, Art the Clown himself. He's going to spill his guts to us in an exclusive interview. Also, there's a new Terrifier comic book that looks amazing, and a new line of Terror Thread shirts of Terrifier. But we'll let David fill us in on that. All that and more today on High on Horror. I'm going to spark us up. It's the end of June. John, what happened this month in horror history?
Well, for this month in June, we have a couple satanic anniversaries this month. Damien Leone 2 turned 43. Rosemary's Baby turned 53. I'd have to say the two movies, Rosemary's Baby is far superior. Yo, pass me that shit. Jaws turned 46 this month. It's one of those movies like Pulp Fiction. I just always feel like it's a long watch, but every time I watch it, it's always a solid movie.
Oh, man, you got to see it in 4K. You have to see it in 4K, man. Like, it's like the water and the effects and everything. Like, it's like people don't understand that, like, 4K really does make a difference. Like, there's a lot of snobs out there that don't like 4K, and that's cool. I get it. I'm a VHS junkie myself, but damn, you gotta admit when something looks good. And I'm telling you, dude, like, if you're on the ropes about Jaws, or you're kind of like, like, it's great, or, but I hardly ever watch it. Watch it in 4K. Watch that shit in 4K, dude.
It's like Halloween. It looks amazing in 4K. I still prefer the VHS. I still like the grainy quality. But what they're able to do with movies now is just crazy with the 4K restorations.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Like, the stuff that they're coming out with nowadays, like, like, these 4K restorations are no joke. Like, they're definitely, like, you don't have to like us, but, like, do better. And it's kind of, like, hard.
And lastly this month, probably my favorite movie of the bunch, Psycho turned 61, and also the sequel Psycho 2 turns 38. And for a horror sequel, Psycho 2, it's not the original Psycho, but you definitely have to check it out. The plot twist is really good in it.
Yeah, Psycho 2 is by far one of the best horror sequels that has ever existed, dude. Like, the twist at that ending, man, like, how the way Norman Bates just puts up with all that bullshit through that whole movie, and then at the end he just finally loses his shit. Like, hopefully if you're listening to this, you've seen Psycho 2. If not, spoiler!
I mean, yeah, that woman was a real bitch. And that'll wrap us up here for movie history for June. Now moving on to the main topic of today's show, Terrifier. For anybody unfamiliar with the movie, our film starts with a TV interview with a disfigured woman who survived a brutal attack. At the end of the interview, we see the antagonist Art the Clown destroy the TV he was watching and head out into the night. Then we cut to Dawn and Tara, who are out for Halloween for a night of beer and pizza. And at the pizzeria, they run into the psychopath Art, who takes interest in them. The pair continue to mess with Art in the pizzeria, and when the two women return to their car, they find their tire has been slashed, and Tara calls her sister to take her home. While they wait, a brutal double murder is committed inside the pizzeria they had just left. Thus begins a game of cat and mouse where the women are chased by our clown friend who will slaughter anybody in his path.
Yeah, well said, man. I fucking love Terrifier, man. Terrifier to me is just exactly what I was looking for in a horror film. It pushed boundaries in gore and violence while also giving us creative and brutal kills. Dawn, played by Catherine Corcoran, sawed in half from fucking taint to head. Absolutely insane. And then there's Art the Clown himself, man. He's ugly, he's creepy, he's funny, he's vile. The way David Howard Thornton plays on dark comedy in this role is what cemented the character as such an icon. Terrifier delivered the goods, and true horror fans and gore hounds alike were satisfied. And we were thirsty at that time. We were thirsty for something that would quench our thirst, and goddamn it, Terrifier quenched our thirst. It quenched mine, and it quenched yours, did it not, John?
Oh, absolutely. And slasher's definitely my favorite genre. And it's really the first good slasher movie we've had since the Hatchet series. Art the Clown himself, I mean, people who haven't seen the movie know who he is. We haven't had a mainstream horror icon that broke in like that since, I'd say, Jigsaw.
Yeah, exactly. I 100% agree. You know, like even if you haven't seen the film, you know who he is. You're like, oh, that's that dude from Terrifier, or you even know him by name. Oh, that's Art. It's like he's kind of wiggled his way into pop culture. You know what I mean? But the problem that has occurred now is that we're all thirsty again. I'm thirsty, you're thirsty, all horror fans, you know, everyone alike who likes Terrifier, anybody who has, you know, their head screwed on tight is thirsty, and they want their thirst quenched again. And we're lucky because it's going to happen. Terrifier 2 is coming. There's not much to criticize, in my opinion, as far as the first Terrifier goes. Yes, it is low budget, but it's very well done and has great production quality. And if anything, being low budget works in Terrifier's favor because it makes it come off as more grimy, and Art is a very grimy character. My favorite thing that Art does, though, by far, dude, is when he pulls the gun. Because that shows us that Art just does not give a fuck. He is going to get you no matter what he has to do, even if he has to fucking cap your ass. I love it.
The gun scene, man, that was crazy. Anybody that says that they saw it coming are a fucking liar. I mean, you don't see that in a slasher movie. You don't see the killer just pull out a gun. That's what separates him from the other slashers.
Yeah, exactly. He almost kind of broke the mold. I think I've seen people before like complain like, "Oh, slasher people, you know, slashers aren't supposed to use guns. That's cheating." And it's like, well, this is a new fucking generation, and we have a new face on the slasher genre, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and as for the movie, the criticisms of it being grimy and low budget, I mean, the best horror movies from the 70s and 80s were that way. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween, all those movies. Well, maybe, I wouldn't say Halloween came off grainy, but it was low budget. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Black Christmas, all the movies from the 70s and 80s that had that grainy look, they're some of the best horror movies ever.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, like Halloween does still have that almost grainy feel, but it's not grainy because it was more of a commercial film. It was a more polished film, but it definitely, you know, it's kind of at the top, like a grand star at the top of, you know, all the other slasher films that are, you know, a little bit more gritty and weren't made on as much, but also, you know, maybe make you feel a little bit more. What's the word that I'm looking for? You know, like just makes you the griminess of those films, like Last House on the Left and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and things like that. Like, yeah, like that's what makes those movies. Like if they were polished like Halloween, it wouldn't work. Halloween works as Halloween because John Carpenter, in my opinion, is just on a different level. But horror films in general almost, you know, need that grainy look. And I just don't feel that, you know, like Terrifier doesn't have that grainy look, but still gives you that feeling of that grainy look almost exactly like Halloween did.
I 100% agree. The cinematography, and it's great. David Howard Thornton's amazing as Art the Clown. Usually when we have slashers that don't talk, usually they have some kind of mask, but the expressions and his previous mime experience really shine in the movie.
Yeah, I agree. He's David Howard Thornton is a great physical actor, you know, and the way he moves and stuff, like that's all part of the character. It's like someone stepping in to play Art. You could wear the makeup, but like the movements, man, like that's what I'm saying. Like there could never be an Art the Clown who isn't David Howard Thornton, as far as I'm concerned. Like unless there was some unforeseen tragic incident where he could never play the role again, I 100% see like the horror audience as a whole just being pissed off and just, you know, in arms over the replacing of him.
I agree. It just it's almost like Freddy Krueger at this point. I can't really see anybody else playing the role. I mean,
yeah,
they did have somebody else play Freddy, but that was a terrible decision.
Yeah, it's yeah, exactly. Like it's almost like you know, in just those terms, exactly like Freddy Krueger. Yeah, where it's just, you know, anybody else who plays him, it's almost going to turn someone off from wanting to see the new film. Like if it was like Terrifier 3, played by Art the Clowns, played by, you know, so and so, people are gonna be like, that's not the dude from the first two. Like apprehensiveness is immediately going to kick in. Like David Howard Thornton is fucking Art the Clown.
Yeah, and I don't really think we can say anything else much on that except for it's time to get into Burn and Learn, and we'll give you some behind the scenes facts on Terrifier. Before we speak to our main man David, it's time for Burn and Learn.
Light it up.
Drew and I are going to hit you with some behind-the-scenes facts on today's main topic, Terrifier. Kika Margulies, the lead actress in 2016's The Eyes of My Mother, plays Tara's dead body sitting in the chair holding the circus sign. Director Damien Leone cut her hair with CGI to make her look more like Tara actress Jenna Kanell.
How the hell do you cut somebody's hair with CGI? I didn't even know there was like CGI in that movie, but that's amazing to know that.
And also, the Extermination Company in Terrifier has Serling Brothers Extermination Company painted on the truck. This was a homage to Twilight Zone creator and narrator Rod Serling, because The Twilight Zone was Leone's favorite show. What do you got for me, Drew?
Well, The Twilight Zone's your favorite show as well, is it not?
It's definitely one of my favorite shows. The Burgess Meredith episodes are probably my favorite. I've seen them all. I've lost count at this point.
All right, well, check this out. For those of you out there who don't know but are fans of Terrifier, Art the Clown did not originate in Terrifier. As a matter of fact, Mike Gianelli originally played Art in the 2008 short film The Ninth Circle, as well as the 2011 film called Terrifier, which was also a short film. Mike retired from the role, and David Howard Thornton took over in the feature-length Terrifier. Also, at All Hallows Eve, the films on the VHS tape that you see that are playing are Damien Leone's aforementioned short films, The Ninth Circle and Terrifier.
That's some good facts. And I think now it's time to get into our interview here with David.
Let's do this. David Howard Thornton is best known for his work in Terrifier's Art the Clown, his portrayal in the YouTube series Nightwing Escalation as the Joker, and for voiceover work in video games and TV shows. Welcome, David. Thank you for joining us on High on Horror.
Thank you for having. I can't talk often. This is why I don't talk in the movie. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. And before we get into Terrifier, you've done some work, as Drew said, in the DC comic universe. You did an amazing job as the Joker in Nightwing Escalation, and then you were on Gotham. Were you a Batman fan before you were on, or after taking these roles did you become a fan?
Oh, I've been a lifelong Batman fan.
And
I had the Mego figures when I was a little kid, like those big cloth ones, the tall ones, yeah.
Was it surreal being on a Batman series, like on set? What was that like?
It was. That was really cool because I filmed that here in New York at Steiner Studios, and like just walking upstairs just to get my costume and makeup, I'm walking by all the dressing rooms. So you see like Bruce Wayne on a door, Alfred Pennyworth, Oswald Cobblepot, and so you're seeing all the names of the characters. You're like, holy crap, this is awesome. And then they let me walk around set a little bit too. So I walked into one of the sets where they had Wayne Manor. So I'm like, oh my God, it's Wayne Manor. It's like, this is amazing.
Well, let's get into your work as Art. I've seen you at conventions as Art in character, and you do not break character, dude. I've seen people come up to you and like dote all over you, and you're Art. And I know you have a background in miming. Can you tell us about that?
Well, actually, strangely enough, I don't really have a background in miming. I have more of a background in like physical comedy. I did a lot of children's theater growing up, and I've always idolized the great physical comedians from film, like Chaplin and Keaton and Harpo Marx, and go all the way to like Jim Carrey and Mr. Bean and Doug Jones, all those kind of guys. So that's really where I have my expertise in, and I studied I guess you could say studied. I was his understudy for 5 years for The Grinch, who was Stephen Carl, who was Robbie Rotten on Lazy Town. So that was like a master's class and all that, because I had someone that could actually take me aside in real life and fine tune everything I was doing, and give me pointers and everything like that. So that's really what my expertise comes from, was just real life work. I didn't go to school for any of that kind of stuff. I just learned from doing it and watching those that were like the experts in the field do it, and just mimicked them.
Awesome. My brother Ryan from Sharon Springs, New York, he was with me when I met you at New Jersey Horror Con. He wanted me to ask you for him, what horror characters in specific do you draw inspiration from, or did you draw inspiration from when portraying Art the Clown?
Oh gosh, I kind of look at Art as like a big, huge mishmash of all the horror icons that came before him. So I put a little bit of everybody in him. Of course, there's a lot of Freddy Krueger and Chucky, especially with his dark sense of humor and all that kind of stuff. But I also put some Joker in him as well. Of course, he's got those tendencies of Pinhead. He's very sadistic in that way. He has the cannibal nature of both Hannibal Lecter and Leatherface in him as well. Of course, he's got the silent nature and stalker nature. Mike Myers and Jason. So there's a little bit of everybody in him. So that was what was kind of fun of it. Is I kind of look at him as like the ultimate like horror fanboy in a way.
Yeah, I can definitely see the Freddy Krueger in it. And Mary Myers, who asked on Facebook, she wants to know, how do you get into character for Art? What do you do to prepare for the role?
Well, I mean, I do a lot of research beforehand. I, of course, went back and rewatched All Hallows Eve so I could, I had already seen it before, but when I got cast as Art, I went back and rewatched it so I could watch what Mike Giannelli, the original Art, did with the character. Because, you have to have that good, strong, solid foundation. You want to still stay true to how he originally was. But, I just wanted to embellish that more. And so that's what I really first did. And then of course, reading the script, I just kind of did my own script analysis of the character. And when I went in for my makeup test, I sat with Damien and I was like, okay, tell me everything about this guy, his background, all that kind of stuff. And oddly enough, Damien had not really thought too much about the background at that point. He's like, why don't we just come up with all that kind of stuff together? And so that's what we started doing. And so we've really developed the character between the two of us a lot over the years. But other than that, I'm really weird like this when I do new characters with makeup. I like to sit in front of a mirror for a while and make faces so I can see how everything's going to look and see what extremes I can go to with the makeup, how everything's going to, translate. And so I did that a lot. And after I do all that kind of stuff, I can go in and out of character very easily. So I'm not one of those method actors where I have to sit there in character on set all day and do that. I can 1 second be just kidding around and talking about what we had for dinner, and they're like, okay, rolling, and boom, angry eyes. So. I think my co-stars are very grateful for that, so I'm not constantly just in character on set. Though I still like to scare them from time to time.
I actually have a question about the makeup. Speaking of the makeup, in old, in the Giallo films, Dario Argento had this thing where he always had to be the hands of the killer. Mm-hmm. Well, in the opening of Terrifier, my wife had a great question. She wanted to know, are you the one who applies Art's makeup, or is that like Damien? Because I know that Damien, does Art's makeup. So, like, is he playing Art for that scene, or was that you the whole way?
No, that was me. Basically doing a lot of that. I mean, I think some of it were some inserts that Damien might have done as well with hands or stuff like that when I wasn't available on set. I can't remember, that was so long ago. But like the makeup was definitely me, because I remember that especially because that to get the reflection of my eye in the on camera, I couldn't actually see my reflection. So I was having to just blindly like put the black under my eye, and I only had like 1 or 2 takes to do that because that makeup stays on. So it's like, oh God, don't screw this up. And so I'm just like, I think my eye's here. I don't know.
Well, one thing is that
but I will say there are some times in the film where Damien came in and did some pickups.
Sorry, man, I didn't mean the delay. Sorry about that. I was just trying to ask you. Please continue about Damien doing the pickups with the makeup. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. No, like I'm trying to like I know like one like you see the head smash when I stomp on the exterminator's head. When you see the actual foot come down on the fake head, that was actually Damien's foot. He wanted to do that himself.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So one thing though is that Terrifier has become a merchandising machine, and as of late, the new Terrifier comic book just launched. Terror Threads has another line of T-shirts out, and Trick or Treat Studios is doing a friggin' action figure, dude. How does that feel? And can you tell us about them?
I love it. It's like I'm a huge kid right now because this is stuff I never dreamed would happen, but I could always kind of wanted in my life. Like especially the action figure, that was actually a goal of mine a long time ago. It's like I would love to have an action figure of a character I've portrayed, and now it's becoming a reality. And I'm just like, this is so exciting. I love it. It's like merchandising. It's where the money is, I guess.
Yeah, that has to be a dream come true, man. I have a question about the end of Terrifier 2. In regards to I'm sorry. I have a question about the beginning of Terrifier, the original Terrifier. In the original Terrifier, you see a sign in the dressing room that says "Art is alive," and in the same dressing room beside the mirror to the right, you see there's a sign that says "The end is just a new beginning." So I'm wondering, like if the beginning of Terrifier takes place after the end of Terrifier, then what we see in Terrifier is not what Art is doing. So does Terrifier 2 pick up like with the opening of the first Terrifier, kind of like a Halloween 2 thing? Like, do you guys like meld it into one film? Like, is it a continuation, or does it just pick up as a whole new film?
It does. Yeah, both. I would say, yeah. Because like the beginning of Terrifier is really, some people got confused about that. Like the beginning of Terrifier is actually a year later from the events of what you see in most of Terrifier. So like most of Terrifier is a flashback. So what's happening? All that happens with Victoria, with the newscast and all that, is happening the same time as Terrifier 2, I guess you could say. That's on the same day, if that makes sense.
So, continuing on the theme of Terrifier, I mentioned earlier in the episode, you really seem to be the first mainstream horror icon we've had break into pop culture since probably Jigsaw. Have you noticed anything in your everyday life changing since you've been on Terrifier?
Oh yeah, it's been quite a ride. I mean, first of all, I was able to finally quit waiting tables for a living, which was a dream come true there. I waited tables for 13 years, and that can be so soul sucking. It's just like, because people just don't treat waiters very well. You see some of the worst in humanity that way over nothing, over someone just not getting enough ranch on the side of their salad or something like that. So it's been nice not kind of going in and having being treated like you're a lesser to everybody. So that was a nice change of scenery for me. But I'm like, it's definitely opened up a lot more opportunities for me career wise too. It's been really cool. I've been able to work on some new projects and work with some actors that I never dreamed I would be able to work with. So I'm not complaining. I feel like this is just the beginning of the ride. I have a feeling once Terrifier 2 releases, that's gonna just boom, blow up a lot of things, not just for myself, but everybody else involved in it. I mean, I hope that's going to get Damien a lot more recognition, and I hope it's going to get the other actors and the crew in the film a lot more recognition. So I hope it's going to change a lot of lives.
Oh, I think definitely it will. I feel there's a lot of hype behind Terrifier 2. There's a lot of excitement for it to come out. Going back to the first movie, with Art at the pizzeria, he gives Tara a ring in the pizzeria and she throws it away in the street. Do you think that Art took offense because deep down he's a hopeless romantic?
Oh no, he was just messing around with her. He doesn't care. Love, who cares about love when you're Art the Clown? His love is just killing people.
Very true. The horror community's made a lot of claims. Kane Hodder said he's killed more people than anyone on film. Bob Kane claims he made the first slasher movie. Do you think you're the first person to saw through somebody's taint in a movie?
That's a good question. It might be. I mean, I know they said that a whole scene in Bone Tomahawk and stuff like that, but Ooh. Who knows? Who knows? But like, I would love to take that as a personal challenge though with Kane in a future film though. That's something I've been thinking about addressing at one point. It's like because I know Jason has the most kills of anybody in a franchise. I'm like, maybe we can outdo him one day. I like a challenge.
That's a tall
like
task.
That. What's that?
That would definitely be a tall task.
Oh yeah, oh definitely. But it's like, hey, challenge accepted, And I love Kane too, so that'll just be a fun little thing to do.
At the end of the film, when Art shot himself, why do you think he shot himself?
Oh, because he wanted to go out on his own. He wasn't going to let someone else take him down. It's all about ego there. It's just like, it's like he doesn't want to give those cops a satisfaction of taking him out or anything like that. It's like he's going out on his own terms, and who knows? Maybe he knew he could come back. Maybe not.
That was actually another question I had. I read something online, but granted, if you read something online, you don't know how true it is. Mm-hmm. But I saw that Damien had said that Art didn't know he was going to wake back up, and that when he woke back up, that was the first time that he realized he had supernatural powers. Is there any validity to that? Is that something Damien shared with you?
Oh yeah, that's definitely something we've discussed, and we might be exploring in part 2.
All right, David. What could you tell us about your new future films, the Dark Offerings, and with Felissa Rose, and also Stream, which has Felissa Rose and is done by Fuzz on the Lens? What can you tell us about those projects, man?
Oh yeah, Dark Offerings. I just have a small role in that. They added me in later on after they were basically done filming most of it. It's a horror film that was shot exclusively over Zoom during the pandemic. So everybody was interacting with everybody over a computer instead of actually being face to face, which was definitely a challenge from an acting perspective, because I'm so used to being in the room with my fellow actors and being able to interact with them, especially in like high like intensity type scenes. And it's just like, so it's a fun one. There's a lot of stuff I don't even know about the film because I only know about basically the scene I'm in. So I'm very excited about seeing the rest of the film, and hopefully it's going to be coming out later on this year. As for Stream, yes, I'm doing that with the Fuzz on the Lens guys. This is Damien's actually involved with that as well. He's doing all the practical effects for it. So, the kills are going to be pretty gnarly in that. And it's something we hope is going to become another horror franchise as well. And this one has not just Felissa, it's got a lot of horror alumni in it as well. So it's kind of like an Expendables horror film in a lot of ways. And I can't really name everybody's in it, but I know they've released some of the names on IMDb, like Jeffrey Combs. And so being able to work with these people I've seen in films, growing up, it was so awesome. I felt like I didn't even belong on that set because there's so many legends on that set. It was so cool. And I'm still filming that right now. We're having to build a set piece because the script specifically calls for this one scene to be filmed in this one location. We just couldn't find one, so we're having to build the set for ourselves right now. So that's going to be really cool. It's a really fun scene. So I'm excited about finishing that film as well.
And one last question here about Terrifier. I thought the best thing in there was your silent laugh. Where did you get inspiration for that? Because that was, I think, the creepiest part of Terrifier was just your silent laugh.
Gosh, I mean, I think some of that, of course, came from Mike because he kind of did some of the silent laughing in All Hallows Eve. But I just came up a lot of that on my own. I deliberately tried not to laugh on set too, because I just wanted, for one, add a little bit more realism to it that way by actually just not laughing. Also, I thought it made things easier for the sound department. But I had a lot of fun playing with that. It's just, a lot of that just comes from silent clown / mime work that I learned from watching the greats that came before me. And I want to do something more with it than just a simple little chuckle. I just want to do a lot of the grandiose, over the top type of just having crazy fun, laughing, and I think it's kind of disturbing that, and also like when he gets hit with stuff or stabbed, and you see him scream, but no sound comes out. It's like even like with Jason and Mike Myers, you hear sometimes a grunt come out of them, or you hear them breathing, or something like that. You hear an exhale or something like that. You don't hear any of that with Art, which is it's very inhuman in a lot of ways.
Well, we'd like to thank our guest, David Howard Thornton, for being with us today. And where can people find you on social media or online to stay in contact?
Yes, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram under David Howard Thornton. I try as much as possible to interact with everybody on there. It can be a little bit overwhelming, but I at least try to say thank you or hi or something like that back. And I'm also on Cameo as well under David H. Thornton, I think. So if you want to do some kind of shout out for birthdays or anniversaries or what have you, I'm on there. And I try not to charge too much on there as opposed to so many other people, because I don't want people going broke just for a video from me. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Well, thank you again for being on here with us, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon, maybe after Terrifier 2 comes out stream.
Of course. Thank you very much for having me on here as well. I've had fun chatting with you guys.
Thank you again. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
All right, you take care.
See ya. Thanks. Talk to you soon. Before talking to David, I know we were both excited for Terrifier 2, and now that we've talked to him, I'm that much more pumped for the sequel. If this movie can deliver on everything it's been promised, it's going to be one of the greatest slasher movies in recent history. And that should about wrap it up this week. If you like this episode on Terrifier, be sure to tune in next week. We're going to have Jason and Michael Levy from Fuzz on the Lens Productions, and they were both actors in the original Terrifier. We're going to talk to them about Abnormal Attraction, Stream, and Terrifier 2. And a special thanks to Josh Hensley for creating our awesome theme, helping us out with our sound and editing. Pick up his album Future Dreams, which I can't recommend enough, at Hensley Sound, that's spelled Hensley, hensleysound.bandcamp.com. Also a special thanks to Blair and Dana Webb from Fright Night Sketches for creating our amazing High on Horror logo. Check them out on Facebook at Fright Night Sketches. And last but not least, Mel and Steph Carcace for helping us to get started on this journey. You've been an invaluable resource to us.
Yes, thank you, everybody.
We're glad you could join us on this first episode of High on Horror. Be sure to like and subscribe. Catch yous later.
Bye, guys.